Now we're going to learn about what an IEP consists of and how it's used in the school districts. This is a very important thing for general educators to know because it gives you the power to be an advocate for both the parent as well as the student during this process. So let's start with the IEP. This is a legal document that protects the child with a disability on their educational pursuit. The first part of an IEP should be at a present level of educational performance or a present level of performance. This section describes the student's strengths and weaknesses based on classroom performance, home life, social life, and educational testing. The PLEP, present level of educational performance, is geared toward academics, while the PLOP, present level of performance, looks at the social and emotional and self-help skills the student has as well. The next section of the IEP should include a list of tests and the results. This helps it helps to provide substantive assistance in looking at that academic performance in the classroom. In other words, is the child working in the classroom and testing at the same level, or are we seeing a discrepancy there? Next, we also look at the testing and the performance in the classroom to draw goals and objectives. These goals and objectives guide the child's individual plan throughout the academic year. The next section that we look at has to do with related services. Are there services that will help benefit this child while they're going through the educational program? This could be speech, it could be language, it could be occupational therapy for fine motor concerns, it could be social skills taught either by a school counselor or by a social worker. We also need to consider different medications the child's on, psychological sessions that the child may be attending, and their need for special transportation to get to school. There's some important provisions that also need to be considered when creating an IEP. The stay put provision means that the children who are diagnosed with an emotional disorder and cause disruption or physical acting out cannot be expelled from the school system. These behaviors are considered to be part of the student's disability, and if goals are written in the IEP to help the child work through these, the child will not be able to be removed from the school system. We also have manifestation determination. Now this has to do with the identification of the behaviors and the origination of them. In other words, if the district finds out that the behaviors that the child is showing in the classroom has to do with a special need, then the stay put applies. But if these behaviors have something to do with another source, such as a family issue, an anger issue, then stay put does not apply. Finally, all children in public schools, according to No Child Left Behind, must take state assessments. There should be either a modification of the assessment or an alternative assessment designed so that the student's academic growth can be measured. So now we're going to be looking at what the contents is and what it means for each section. Let's start with these annual goals. The annual goals are goals that can be achieved during a 9-month schooling process. The goals are broken down into short-term objectives and then benchmarks. The goals may be academic, they may address social or behavioral needs, they may relate to physical needs, or address other educational needs. The goals must be measurable, meaning that they have to be measured to show how the student is doing on the specific goals. Next, the dates and places. The IEP must state when services will begin, how long they will last, and how often they will be provided. These dates can be found in a variety of different places on the IEP. This document may show the dates and the places in the actual objectives and where they are going to take place, who is going to provide these skills and the assistance, and who is going to measure them. Or they may be written out stating these are academic goals that will be covered first semester or first quarter of the year. Next needs to be considered your transition skills. In other words, when the child is 14 years of age, and you can do this with younger children, the IEP has to address what is going to be put into place to help this child transition from elementary school into high school, and then again from high school to their adult life. Beginning when the child is 16 years of age, the family, the teachers, the counselors, and the child need to start preparing for the child to leave school. What's going to happen? Will this child be able to, with appropriate accommodations, go to a junior college, go to a four-year college, go to a trade school? Will this child need extensive help? Will they need to be in a special need program their entire life? Do we need to start looking at group home services, individual living assistance? And what are the finances that will need to be in place to help protect this child? Beginning at least 1 year before the child reaches the age of majority, the IEP has to include a statement that the child has been told their rights and that the rights are transferred to them. They are then the decision maker, not the parent. So let's look at some members of the IEP team. Who needs to be there? Why do they need to be there? And what role do they play? In the past, there have been students who have been brought into their IEP program at a very early age and asked to help come up with their goals, how long they should work on these goals, and most importantly, what strategies are needed. However, some students are not able to participate in this. So the student is a part of the team if it's appropriate. Next, we have the general education teacher. That's you. You're there to talk about what's going on currently in the classroom, what strategies are working, what strategies need to be provided as additional help, and where is this child in relation to other children. Next, we have the school system representative. This particular person can either be the principal, a special education coordinator, a vice principal, or someone who has been given the authority to make decisions on behalf of the school system. The parents are always invited, and we try very hard to make sure that the parents attend these sessions. It's supposed to be a collaborative effort between the student, the school, and the parents to create this individual plan that is going to work and be successful. Next, we might have people who have other knowledge of this child. They may be a social worker. They may be a psychologist. They may be a medical doctor. They may be someone from another school that the child attends during the summer. This provides yet another view as to the child's capabilities in learning. We may need a transition service agency to be a part of this conversation if the child is 16 years or older. That might be a representative from a group home. It might be a representative from a 2-year program or a trade school. Next, the person who can interpret or talk about the evaluations that have been conducted. In most school systems, this is the school psychologist. They have either given these tests and can explain what they mean as far as the child's learning ability is concerned, or they have been trained so that they can read a variety of them and explain what's going on. Finally, we have the special education teacher. This is the person who's the case manager. This is the person who is ultimately responsible for all of the goals and objectives that are stated on the IEP. This person works in a collaborative effort with the student and the parents to come up with the goals that are necessary to succeed. I want you to consider what we've covered as far as the history, what you need to do as the general educator, and what an IEP, this legal document, looks like. This is going to be important because as you move forward in this series, what you're going to start to see are videos of children in learning situations and home situations who have these different diagnoses. These videos are intended to give you a broadened view of who these kiddos are, who their parents are, and who their teachers are. In addition, you've been given journal articles to read and the book to read to help give you somewhat of an idea as to what does it mean to have a learning disability, be on the autism spectrum disorder, have a behavioral disability, be diagnosed as gifted, or having a learning disability. I hope you've enjoyed these videos, and I look forward to any questions or comments that you have.